Mr. President, Palestine was, Palestine is, and Palestine will forever be. No force on earth, present or future, can erase it from history and geography. Its existence is indispensable to mankind, to humankind, because of what it represents as a land of holiness, as a treasure of diversity, as a crossroad of civilizations. Its people, as all peoples, are worthy and their lives matter. They are not expendable, nor are they a people too many. Its people, in the hope to restore their ordinary lives, have led the most extraordinary struggle, a struggle against erosion, occupation, and oppression, a struggle many in this room can relate to, a struggle of resilience and honor, of a people who love their homeland, who seek to live in peace and dignity. For nearly 8 decades now, the Palestinian people have been faced with incessant attempts at their dispossession, displacement, and destruction. None more cruel and devastating as the one they have been enduring over the past 423 days. Over 2 million Palestinians in Gaza are being bombed, besieged, displaced, and starved. Over and over and over again. For over a year now, every single day, from the sunrise to sunset, from sunset to sunrise, has been a journey of struggle and survival, of pain and agony, of loss and death. Israel has spared no means in its destruction of the Palestinian people. A genocide every day more undeniable, and every day it becomes harder to explain what the world is waiting for to bring it to an end. It is way past time to put an end to the mass killing of Palestinians, their mass detention, their mass displacement, the mass destruction, the mass organized hunger. One day history will remember those who were on the right side of history and those who shamefully betrayed humanity. Mr. President, the question of Palestine has been on the UN agenda since the inception of the organization and remains the most critical test to its credibility and authority and to the very existence of an international law-based order. It is the question of a people denied the very rights that lie at the heart of the UN Charter. First and foremost, their right to self-determination, including their right to the independence of their state. It is about the cardinal principle on which our entire system was built, the prohibition of acquisition of territory by force. It is about the dignity and freedom of a nation. It is about peace through justice. Mr. President, as the Nakba continues instead of ending, as unlawful occupation and annexation are entrenched instead of being brought to an end, as Palestinians are still being forcibly displaced instead of returning to their homes, as they continue fighting for their rights, and now every single day they are fighting for their own survival. As individuals, as families, as communities, and as a nation, it is time for the international community to mobilize the means available to it to chart an irreversible path towards the peaceful settlement of the question of Palestine. In this context, we welcome the General Assembly's decision to hold an international conference to urgently advance implementation of UN resolutions on the question of Palestine and the two-state solution enshrined in them over decades. That decision, following the ICJ's landmark advisory opinion on the illegality of the Israeli occupation and the imperative to bring it to an end and to end all impediments to the right of the Palestinian people to self-determination, must serve as the fundamental basis of all our efforts in this era. Mr. President, this Assembly represents the nations of the world. We salute the peoples and governments around the world who stood in solidarity with the Palestinian people and their just cause, and who stood for just and lasting peace. At this darkest hour of our people, this solidarity is more meaningful than ever. It must continue being translated into decisive action to uphold international law, implement UN resolutions, and the decisions of international courts to end impunity, and with it, the unlawful presence of Israel in the occupied Palestinian territory, and to realize the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people. I want to thank in this regard, the Committee on the Exercise of the Inalienable Rights of the Palestinian People and its chair, Ambassador of Senegal, Sheikh Niang, my dear brother, my twin brother, for their relentless efforts to uphold their important mandate. I also wish to seize this opportunity to express our appreciation to the United Nations, to its Secretary General, and its personnel, notably on the ground, for persisting in implementing their mandate despite continued attacks, harassment, and intimidation by Israel. We salute UNRWA and its Commissioner General, Mr. Lazzarini, in this regard. I want to thank the humanitarians, the doctors, the nurses, the rescue teams who, at the peril of their lives, continue trying to save lives. Their courage should inspire us all to do more, to do everything we can to save lives. I want to thank the Palestinian journalists who are being killed to bury the truth along with the corpses of tens of thousands of Palestinians, but who continue reporting in the hope that the outside world will eventually rise to save a nation facing an existential threat, or simply their fellow humans who are confronted with every atrocity no human should have to face. Mr. President, the Israeli government's plan is obvious: destroy and displace the people to annex the land. It is a plan we all oppose, as it breaches the fundamental rights of the Palestinian people, including their right to life and self-determination, but also because it imperils any prospect of shared peace and security in the future. It condemns the Palestinian people, the Israeli people, and our region to successive wars that can and must be prevented. Occupation must end. Let me repeat, occupation, this illegal occupation has to end, must end. Supremacist ideologies must be defeated, and the vision of two states living side by side on the pre-1967 lines and in peace and security must be realized. Mr. President, in Gaza today, the fate of over 2 million people is at stake. The future of our region is at stake. The future of our international law-based order is at stake. Failure is not an option. Let me repeat, failure is not an option. Failure to stop a genocide is not an option. Failure to achieve freedom and peace is not an option. Failure to uphold the rule of international law and end impunity is not an option. We call on all peoples to rise to the requirements of this historical moment, to save lives, to save rights, and to save peace. And I thank you very much, Mr. President, my colleagues in the General Assembly.
I thank the observer of the State of Palestine.